And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Wednesday, February 7th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome here on a Wednesday morning. We certainly welcome you to Coleman and Company. Glad to have you with us. If you're wondering about the temperature, a little below freezing this morning. My car thermometer said 29 degrees, and there's plenty of frost on the whatever's out there, on the windshield, on the roof. Well, we're ready to go for Cedar Stone Bank, and Bob McDonald is on the phone this morning. Bob, of course, is President and Chief Executive Officer for Cedar Stone Bank. Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Donaldson, simple banking, simply better. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Coleman.
Good to hear your voice.
Nice to be with you. It's cold outside this morning, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Anytime below freezing, it's cold. But like I say, when it gets below 20, it's really cold.
Exactly.
This is not too bad.
But it'll be warming up today, so
Yep.
we should have another nice day today.
Mm-hmm. Looks like it. Yes, sir. What's with you?
Well, we're you and I were talking before we came on the air about the Fed and their decision to not raise rates last week. I think we all expected that, Coleman. I know you and I talked about that last week, and so the Fed's not convinced that inflation is gone for good, and so I think they just want to make sure that before they start making rate cuts, that everything appears to be stabilized as it relates to inflation. And Coleman, as you and I talked some over the last year, I mean, there's some prices on certain products that just are not going to come down. There's just embedded cost increases, price increases in certain products. But I think if we can get back to where our basic necessities can become into more reasonable range, I think that's what we're all hoping for.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would certainly agree with that.
Yeah. Well, we've got a busy week this week. There's a lot going on in the community, both in Lebanon and in Mount Juliet. Mark Hinesley and his group are putting on their annual banquet in Mount Juliet this Friday night for the Mount Juliet Chamber of Commerce. Mark and I talked yesterday. He always does such a great job, he and his team. It'll be a wonderful evening as they celebrate some successes and some accomplishments of certain chamber members, install new officers. His format's really good. It's more of a reception type of format, and it's at one of those hotels there in Mount Juliet over in Providence. So that's always a great event. And then the very next night, Saturday night, there's two events going on. Coleman University is having their Notes for Nurses event, which they've had this for many years. That's always a great success, and I know Dr. Stum and his group will do a great job with that. And then just down the street, over at the Mill, Historic Lebanon is having their first ever gala. And so Susan and I will be at the Notes for Nurses for a few minutes, and then we're going to get in the car and drive over to the Mill and be with the folks at Historic Lebanon. So it's a busy 24 hours.
And you're kind of like Cinderella. You're not around at midnight, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I've got to get home and get to bed at a good time because, we get up early, and that means we go to bed early. But so we'll still be having a great time and looking forward to being with all those great folks for those great organizations.
Yeah. Did you work out this morning?
I did. Yeah, I did, Coleman. It doesn't get easier, and I don't understand. It gets harder. I was hoping it would get easier over the years, but it just continues to get harder. I guess that's what age is, right?
Yeah. But you do work out. That's the thing about it. I'm really amazed that you're so dedicated for that.
Well, it's been something that Susan and I both done for virtually all of our lives, so it's very much a part of our daily routine, and we do it without much problem. So, but we enjoy it. We enjoy doing that. It's important to have good health.
Yep, there you go. Well, we haven't mentioned loans. We haven't mentioned free checking this morning. Probably need to talk a little bit about both.
Yeah, we'll wrap that up here in our final minute or so, but we are continue to be very busy, Coleman, with lending, with all of our areas of lending, whether it's residential real estate or commercial real estate, business loans for companies who are buying equipment, or folks are out buying vehicles, and home buying is picking up, which is normally happens this time of year. And as we start approaching the spring, that's when we start seeing homes come on the market and people be in the market to purchase a new home. So we're gearing up for that. Cindy, who does our secondary market loans, I know she's been busy and she's looking forward to an active season. And of course, we continue to have our free checking account, Coleman. That's important. It's hard to find that anymore out there with other banks, but ours is free. It always has been. It's free checks, it's free online banking with bill pay. You can come in and see us, or you can do your banking electronically. Either way, you'll get great service with us.
All right. Well, thanks so much for your visit. We'll do it again next Wednesday. Bob McDonald, President, CEO, Cedar Stone Bank, Lebanon, Mount Juliet, Donaldson. Simple banking, simply better. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Coleman.
All right. 10 minutes after the hour, and here on this first Wednesday, if you look at the calendar, it is the first Wednesday in February. Although it's the 6th, we always try to feature the UT Extension office. This is the 7th of all right, it is the 7th of February, but it's still the first Wednesday.
I thought you said the 6th. It is the first Wednesday.
All right, Lucas Holman is here. If you don't recognize his voice, most people will, and it's nice to see you this morning.
Hey, good morning, Coleman. How are you?
A little bit of frost out there, but
Yep.
a typical February morning.
We're shooting for 64 today, which it's a little nerve-wracking. I saw someone online said, well, my peach trees may start blooming this week, which is
We don't want
nope. So hopefully everything will stay dormant at least for another month before we start getting some early growth on some stuff.
Well, the part of your job, I guess, is staying attuned to that, but I think you would probably be doing some of it anyway, because you not only talk the talk, you walk the walk, in that you do a lot yourself.
I have killed a lot of plants too, so it's hard to recommend something if you haven't killed it once before.
Any particular thing you want to focus on this morning?
Not really. So I wanted to highlight something called All-American Selections. So most people are growing vegetables. Some people are starting things inside right now. So All-American Selections is a program that has flowers and vegetables and sorts of things in it. And they won awards each year. So usually if you're buying seeds, you're getting seed catalogs. They'll have a little reward. They'll say All-American Selection winner. And that program's been going on about 100 years.
Oh.
So some of the plants that we generally grow, like Celebrity Tomato, was an All-American Selection winner in 1984. So if you're buying seeds and you want to try something different, look for some of those All-American Selection winners that are in seed catalogs now.
Well, if that's been around 100 years, that's almost as old as a farmer's almanac.
It is.
Do you pay any attention to it?
I don't, and everybody asks me that. I'm sorry about that. And I picked one up at the co-op recently in their calendar. I need to pay attention to it because when people call the office, they'll say, tonight's a good day to plant beans. I'll say, well, all right. And sometimes in my case, it's just whenever I get a free afternoon to plant something.
Well, I don't want to put anybody's down, their idea of whatever, but I've thought about this. When a publication like this goes to the press maybe 6 months or a year even before the season, how can they know? And I think some people just don't really think that through. But that's just my opinion.
And I agree. Sometimes it's hit or miss. But the weathermen, even though they're 7 days out, sometimes they're hit or miss on whether they're going to be right or wrong.
Well, we had, of course, everybody knows, 1st of January there, we had some even sub-zero weather.
Yeah.
We had the 6 to 8 inches of snow here in Wilson County, which is doesn't happen too often, but does every 10, 12 years, I guess. I'm just wondering, what have you heard from anything from that we need to be aware of?
What's great is snow is a natural insulator. We wanted snow, so most of our plants should be fine. So I had a newspaper article that I submitted to newspapers about a week and a half ago, and it gave the benefits of snow. we had some ice on top of that snow. At our house, we ended up with 7 inches of snow, and that Thursday morning, we got to -6 was the low. All of my shrubs are still green and fine. This is nothing like that Arctic blast that we had last year that came through and dropped us 60 degrees in a day and burned hollies, it burned laurels, it burned cryptomerias, it kind of burned a lot of shrubs. The snow is great. We don't want ice, and we didn't get really any ice with that. So it was interesting because West Tennessee and Jackson, they ended up getting -6 also. Usually, lettuce will die when it gets below 10. So at their research facility, they had a bunch of lettuce planted. They got snow on top of the lettuce, then they got some ice. That snow insulated it enough to keep it alive. So the lettuce is still alive in their research gardens, even though it got -6, because it's just like a giant blanket. And the ground's warm, the plants give off some heat, and it just trapped that heat under the snow. Snow's good. So, and I know some people don't like that, so I may get some calls about that.
Except on the highway.
Except on the, we were shut down for a while. I don't like snow. MJ, I know, does not like cold weather.
She has a T-shirt that says, "Let it snow somewhere else."
Oh, I agree with that. I'm over winter already, even though our average of snowfall that we get each year is about 7 inches. So we got our average for the whole winter in a week.
Yeah. Okay, time for us to take a break. Lucas Holman is with us from the UT Extension office. We'll have more in a moment on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Bates Ford, and they've got that battery installed in most vehicles, $149.95. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Pretty crowded now on 24 westbound and through the Hickory Hollow area. Coming in from Rutherford County, it looks like it was slow at leaving Coffee County also. There through Beech Grove into Rutherford on 24 west around the 99-mile marker. It's already slow. 65 southbound down through Millersville. It's starting to load up pretty good out of Wilson County with traffic volume there through the Mount Juliet area headed towards Nashville. A 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services here in Middle Tennessee. It's Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. Check them out at tomahawkcrane.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
It's tax time, and Cars Unlimited Tax Service is locally owned and has 33 years of experience in preparing taxes. They do upfront loans of $250 to $6,000. They're also an authorized IRS e-file provider. Call 615-449-2955 or stop by 1006 West Main Street in Lebanon. Cars Unlimited Tax Service stands ready to help you prepare your taxes.
Gregory Dental Group in Lebanon is in a new location, 1746 West Main in Lebanon, across from Sports Village. Gregory Dental Group offers cosmetic procedures, dental implant services, and digital dentures. Premium dentures in just 2 appointments.
Hi, I'm Dr. Derek Gregory. In my office, you can count on a compassionate staff who will truly listen to you, take the time to get to know you, and discuss your personal needs.
No insurance? No problem. Call about the discount plan. Gregory Dental Group, 444-0322.
We continue here on this Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. Lucas Holman is with us. The county director is your title. We used to say county agent. I'm about to get graduated.
Yeah, you're doing good.
We're always glad to have you, though.
Appreciate it.
You have an interesting group of people that are there, and you do share them with us. We have, of course, they change. Everybody doesn't stay there forever, and there's been some change even since you've been there. But you have some nice people who work with you.
Well, I appreciate it, and I want to say we had one who took another position, and her last day was last week. So we're going to be hiring another agriculture agent. So, and it's not posted yet. We're going to hopefully post it in the next month or two. So if you know anyone in the listening area that wants to work for us and be an agriculture agent focusing on beef and hay, small ruminants, we would love to talk to them. So if anybody's got any questions about our new position that we're going to post, please have them reach out.
Could I ask who's leaving?
Jessica Young.
Oh.
She took a different position. So she was really dynamic in the county, and our farmers really liked her, and she took a different position.
Oh, she's...
Oh, I know.
She could tell it all.
I know she could.
And I enjoyed her visit.
So it was funny. So I'm teaching, I'm not really teaching, I'm coordinating the master beef classes now. When I got in there last night, It's about 50 farmers, and they always said, well, Jesse always has the coffee ready at this time. Well, Jesse did this. And I said, well, Jesse really spoiled y'all, didn't she? So they threw me under the bus last night.
Well, I'm sure you'll find somebody that'll come in and pick up the slack,
Yep.
and the sooner the better, probably for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
It would be great.
Okay, we're not out of winter yet. I know another thing, Punxsutawney Phil and the Groundhog Day and all that, but that's more a joke and something to talk about than anything else. We've got probably some more cold weather. We may have some more snow. Hopefully, we won't have a lot of ice, but we could. You got to be prepared, or at least think about that.
You do, and theoretically, our frost-free date is April the 15th, but the last 2 or 3 years, we've had frost the first week of May, and that's so people planted their corn and their tomatoes, and they got bit back and killed. So I really am encouraging people, if you're going to plant tomatoes or warm season stuff, at April the 15th, look at the 10-day forecast. You may be fine, but gardening is a gamble. Sometimes it's good years and sometimes it's bad. If you plant something too early in really cold soil, and you think, I'm going to get the first tomatoes on the street, it will wait until the soil is warm. So just wait until the soil warms up before you start planting your warm season stuff.
Yeah, I used to have a neighbor. He's passed on, but he at one time would have a few things in his garden, and he didn't get in any hurry about his tomatoes. And he said basically the same thing you said there. You can set them out April the 1st, but until that soil gets warm, it's not going to make that much difference.
60 degrees, and you can buy little cheap soil thermometers. Ideally, in the first couple inches of soil needs to be 60 degrees. And that can be May, usually, to be honest with you.
Well, but a lot of people, I think, if they don't have anything else, they're probably going to have some tomatoes.
Oh, and that's my favorite thing to grow. And the problem is when you get these seed catalogs, there's 200 new ones they're introduced every year, but then a lot of them don't last long. And I hit on to a celebrity a few minutes ago. That's probably one of the most popular tomatoes. And I know you're a Pink Girl or a Bradley person. I can't remember. We've discussed this.
Yeah, Pink Girl most recently.
Yeah, I like them all.
Celebrity.
Celebrity is just a good round baseball size slicing tomato. I always try a few new ones every year because I may find something I really like. But Celebrity seems to win in a lot of our trials that we have at UT still in terms of production.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna maybe I ought to try that this year to be a little different.
Cool,
something new, new for me anyway.
It's like my mom; she's planted the same variety of green beans for about 40 years, and there would not be any convincing her to change it to something else.
And what would that be?
Roma 2-bush bean.
Oh,
my aunt, they plant a garden together. My aunt she prefers pole beans, which is McCaslin, and she's planted it for 50 years. But they each have a garden together, but they have different rows of beans. So
both do well?
They both do well.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
But it depends on if you want to bend over to pick or stand up and pick, and that's the kicker.
Well, now, I can remember when we used to would plant some green beans in with the corn.
Yeah.
And they were wanting to grow up with the corn. You didn't have to stick them out.
Correct. And people still do that with corn and southern peas.
Probably get as good a yield. I don't think it did as well as it did if you have them stuck and so on.
Correct. And a lot of that stuff needs sunlight to really work, and corn's really good about choking stuff out a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can tell you've been there and done that. That's
like I said earlier, I've killed a lot of stuff. So,
what did I don't know whether we've talked about this or not, but tell us about growing up.
I grew up in Rockwood, Tennessee.
Rockwood,
so which is Roane County, Tennessee, and my aunt and uncle owns a large wholesale greenhouse. So Mom worked there. She took my brother and I to work every day. When snow days happened or summertime or weekends, we were always working at the greenhouse. So that's where my mother kind of gave me the love of being a plant nerd.
But you probably got exposed to a lot more there than you would have just in a garden.
I did. So it was interesting growing up. My aunt and uncle owned a couple of garden centers, and I would sit at the garden centers and answer questions for people. And I started doing that when I was about 15.
Yeah.
So I've answered gardening questions almost 25 years now because I turned 40 this year. So it's hard getting old. I know Bob was saying it earlier.
What do vegetables you really like all of them? I think.
Yeah.
From tomatoes to beans to corn to the whole.
Oh yeah, everything. And I'm a flower person too, so I like a lot of flowers. And I think this year my wife and I we always plant some cut flowers. We always like having fresh flowers on the table, so we're gonna be planting some cut flowers around, zinnias and things like that.
Are they ones you have to plant every year?
Most of them are. When I think of the zinnias or the gomphrena, sunflowers, a lot of those are annuals. You got to plant them every year.
But they are beautiful, and
they are.
The bigger the variety you have, the better, really.
And I like growing a little bit of everything. So I told someone earlier a few weeks ago, it's hard for me to tell someone how to grow something when I haven't tried to grow it myself. Mm-hmm. It's easy to go read something and say, well, if you plant it this day, it'll grow this way. And that's why I try to grow so many random things at my house, is I want to see what does well and what does not do well in Tennessee.
You ever done strawberries?
I planted strawberries in the fall this year from bare root, and I have never played with strawberries because I'm not good at keeping weeds out of stuff sometimes. And that's one of those perennials that you just got to keep weeds out all the time. So my girls and I planted strawberries in the fall, and I checked them last week. They were still alive, so I felt pretty good.
Yeah. It's late April when they come around?
Yeah, and they'll start flowering in late April, and then most of them, like the commercial varieties, are June bearing, so they normally start bearing middle of May to June.
Okay, I got a little in a hurry there.
Yeah.
But we used to think of Portland. Portland used to be, I think they even had maybe still do have a strawberry festival.
They do, and I remember driving through Portland here recently and saw on their sign. We still have a lot of strawberry farms around Middle Tennessee, and it's a lot of work to do that kind of stuff.
Are we, is our ground here in Wilson County, is conducive to growing strawberries?
Yes.
As Portland is?
It will do fine. The hiccups we've had with some places, they may have planted them straight in the ground as opposed to a raised bed.
Oh.
And we get rot in the wintertime because we got 4 inches of rain 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Stuff rots so easily when it's cold and it's wet and it sits in low areas of yards.
So you recommend having a raised bed for strawberries?
Ideally for strawberries, because they'll rot really easily.
A little more work.
But like all these commercial operations, they have that machine that's going behind their tractor and kind of raising a bed up. So they're usually sitting 5 or 6 inches up on top of the ground.
Well, it's probably people can make money if they do it right.
Correct. And I think you can make money if you do anything right. But it's also a lot of this gardening, and it's easy to lose a lot of money too in some of this stuff.
Well, it is nice. I think that we here in Lebanon, we have that farmers market where people can come and sell their whatever they produce. And I guess there's some people have enough and can have their own little place. Several people do that.
We've got a lot of, and there's a really interesting social media, Rooted and Raised in Wilson County. It was put out by Leadership Wilson, I think 3 or 4 years ago, of a Christian per year. And it's highlighting Wilson County farmers selling stuff on social media. So you may see it on Facebook or Instagram. She'll say, so-and-so farms has beef available this week. So it's really interesting what she's done with that.
All right, we got a couple of minutes. Anything else on your mind this morning particularly?
I just want people to reach out. So we have a lot of new gardeners since COVID. Pandemic gardening is a real term. So everybody got stuck at home and everybody started gardening in 2020 who've never gardened a day in their life. So if you are starting out a garden this year, we have a lot of free resources in our office. And one thing I want to highlight is we have a calendar that we have, and it goes through month by month, and it tells you what you should be doing the 3rd week of March or the 1st week of April or the 2nd week of June, and it tells you vegetable-wise what you should be doing. It is just for vegetable gardening. Those are free in our office. There's probably 50 or 60 left. So if you're interested in one of those free vegetable gardening calendars, come by our office and just stop in and grab one.
All right, that's great. I didn't know you had those.
We do.
Well, I just might come by and get one for me.
Do that.
Like to see it for one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to grow everything you suggest, but might try a little bit of it. And you are you're going to be posting this.
Yeah, we're
job.
hiring an agriculture agent, row crops, hay production, beef, small ruminants, and hay is what this person will mostly be doing. If anyone has any questions about that position, they could just reach out to me.
All right. Well, I feel sure you'll have a few applicants, and hope you pick the right one. And whoever you get will probably be coming out here.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, we love it. We love it. This has been going on, Lucas. I think we've done this almost from the very beginning, and usually it's been whoever was the county agent or now county director. But I'm glad that we do get to see the others from your office. You do a good job.
It'll be somebody else next
All right.
month.
Well, thanks for being with us
Thank
today.
you.
Lucas Holman, and that is part one of Coleman and Company. We've got more, and we hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Absolute Kubota. Write it off the lot, write it off your taxes. Visit Absolute Kubota. Take advantage of the Section 179 tax deduction when you buy new Kubota construction equipment, tractors, RTVs, hay tools, or turf products. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. A couple of wrecks in the clearing stages right now. We're still seeing heavy traffic coming in from Coffee County, making your way towards Rutherford County on 24 westbound in the Beech Grove community as traffic really starts to load up on 24 westbound up through the Murfreesboro, Rutherford County area towards the Antioch area as well. Heavy already 65 south there in Millersville through that section in Sumner County. It's busy, but it's moving over here on 40 west through Hermitage, passing Central Pike with all that traffic coming in behind it from Wilson County. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services right here in Middle Tennessee. It's Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. They're online at tomahawkcrane.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Simple banking, simply better. Since 2004, that's been our motto at Cedar Stone Bank. I'm Bob McDonald. We know that financial decisions can sometimes be complicated, but that doesn't mean solutions have to be. Whether you're buying a new home, renovating your existing home, or buying a car, or maybe you're a business that needs to purchase equipment or the building you operate from, we have all the technology that will allow you to do your banking online or on the telephone, or you can come in one of our beautiful branches and see our great people. With locations in Lebanon, Mount Juliet, and Nashville, Cedar Stone Bank. Simple banking, simply better.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Elevate your possibilities with the wide selection of equipment from Harris Trading Company in Lebanon. Harris Trading offers sales and rentals on a large variety of construction and agricultural equipment. Golf carts, dump trailers, livestock trailers, skid steer attachments, utility trailers, and much more. See us for all of your rental and sales needs. Family owned and operated, conveniently located just south of the Watertown exit on I-40. Find Harris Trading online at harristradingcompany.com.
As we go through your Wednesday, mostly sunny skies, a high nearing 62. Overnight, mostly cloudy, back down to 41. For Thursday, mostly cloudy and 60 with gusty south winds possible at times throughout the day. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. Let's look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
On this Wednesday morning, welcome to part two of Coleman Company. Time for us to talk about Kane and Crowell PLLC. This law firm located at 133 South College Street in Lebanon. Angel Kane is here this morning to talk about all that's going on.
Good morning, Coleman.
It's always good to see you. Nice to have you, and I hope
Thank
things
you.
are fine.
Yeah, real good, real good. Staying busy.
Sun is shining this morning.
I know.
Get warmer after a while.
It's going to be nice, finally.
Yeah. Well, we remind everybody just about every week, we remind you that you mainly handle two broad areas in
Yes.
family law and elder law.
Exactly.
And, of course, you and Amanda Crowell began this years ago, and you have a team of people with you now, and all of you get to come out and be a part of it.
I know, I love it, and we love coming out here. I know we have the opportunity to do it by phone, but I like to come in person. I did it one time by phone. I was like, no, I'm coming in person. I like coming out here and seeing everyone.
It's better when you sit across the table and
I agree.
can have eye contact and look at somebody when you're talking. But the phone is okay.
Yeah.
The phone is fine. I prefer this. You
Right.
prefer
I do
this.
too.
And but sometimes it's easier to go the other way.
Sure. No, I'm glad I'm here.
What do you want to tell you? Anything specifically you want to?
I mean, we're just staying super busy. I always say I've been doing it 28 years now. And so in December, things always slow down just a little, which is nice. We catch our breath. And obviously people don't want to necessarily sue other people at Christmas, which I understand. And then January, it starts up again. And by February, it's crazy. And so last night I was driving home actually at 6 something, and I was on the phone with Bryson, and we were both trying to figure out like how we're going to handle today because we had so many appointments. But it's great. That's what we want, and we're staying busy. And our elder law practice, that's just been growing by leaps and bounds over the years. Yeah. So it's great that we're so busy.
That's right. It sure beats the alternative.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's why you're there, and
right.
Of course, an opportunity really to help a lot of people, and to a lot of people a somewhat difficult time.
Sure. And, our population is aging. I'm getting older, and my friends are getting older. And maybe that's why I'm getting fewer calls about divorces and more calls about wills and trusts, because that's what my age is now looking at. But that is such a necessary tool as you get older. Having a good standard will in place, or I have a trust, having a revocable living trust in place. Someone in their 40s and 50s should really consider those tools. And then certainly, we handle a lot of probates in our office when family members pass away and you have to probate their estates. That's what Kayla and I do.
Probably one of the harder things about what you do here is getting people to act.
Right.
Because just about all of us tend to procrastinate. It's
Absolutely.
easier to kick the can down the road.
Right.
And so many of us do that. So what I know you want to do is to spur people to action. Go ahead and do it now.
Sure. And so, it's interesting to me. I have a lot of young people coming in. A lot of people, when they have children right at first, start thinking about if something happens to me, who's going to take care of my child? And I understand that. When I first did my first will for ourselves, my husband and I, that's what I was thinking. I have 3 children. If something happens to Brody and I, who do I want to take care of them? And you can set that out in a will or a trust. But as you get older, then you need to start thinking about, well, where are my assets going to go when I pass away? Do I want to give to charity? Is there a grandchild that I want to take care of their college education? Do I want to put their money in trust so they don't spend it all if something happens to me? So there needs to be maybe some more planning as you get older, because obviously you have more assets, hopefully, when you're older. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 types of people who come in. Certainly the younger people who are motivated with their young children, and then older as we all get older and we just start thinking about future planning.
Well, we talked with Bryson last week, and he seems to have a wealth of information stored up here.
Yes, he's
just
fantastic.
Off the cuff, he can talk about all of it.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Most lawyers can, at some point in your career, might draft a will or a power of attorney, but especially Bryson has specialized knowledge when it comes to asset protection, Medicaid planning, VA planning. He has done that for 20 years. He's educated both Amanda and I so that we can now help people. But there's some days when I'm in meetings where I will stop that meeting and say, I need to go get Bryson. He's our guy for Medicaid, or if a family member is going into a nursing home and they're worried about the family farm, we'll bring him in, and then he's a wealth of knowledge.
But the fact that you have this team here, and everybody has, I guess, their area of expertise, but there's so much that you are able to do for people. Right. In family law and in elder law.
Well, and having 6 attorneys, and we're a staff of about 15. We had a person who needed us to go execute some documents in Jackson County about 2 weeks ago. I was in mediation, Bryson was in appointments, where Lindsay, who doesn't necessarily handle our estate planning, she was our only attorney available, and she got in the car with one of our paralegals, drove out there, and took care of it. So that's one of the beauties of having so many attorneys and staff. Although I couldn't be there or Bryson couldn't be there, we had prepared all the documents, and then Lindsay was able to go out there and execute with the client.
All right, we might remind everybody you have a really great telephone number, 615-784-4800, easy to remember, 784-4800. And that website, where you have a wealth of information.
Tons.
www.kane-law.com.
Yes, exactly. Yep, all there.
And I'm sure you keep that updated from time to time.
We've got blogs going up weekly, so it's got everything you need there, a way to contact us as well. Certainly you can call us, but a lot of people email us and text us for appointments.
www.kane-law.com. Well, Angel, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah.
Enjoy your visit. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, that takes us to about 21 minutes before the 8 o'clock hour. Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell is with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
It is nice to see you. And let me say this morning. This is not something that it's something I just want to let people know. My brother, John Walker, died yesterday morning about 4 o'clock. He had been in assisted living. He's had a problem with dementia for, I guess, a couple of years. And we don't know the funeral arrangements yet. They're going to be made this morning. I do know that Partlow Funeral Home here in Lebanon will be the place. And I've got an idea, but it hadn't been finalized. But I just wanted to let people know. John was 7 years younger than me. He played Little League, Babe Ruth baseball, played baseball for Lebanon High, and even played at Cumberland back when, I'm trying to remember the coach's name up there, and it slipped me at the moment. But anyway, Brent Foster was a coach in high school, and he followed Vanderbilt with me for a while, and then when it got so bad, he switched and became a UT fan. You'd be glad to know that.
Well, Coleman, I'm sorry to hear that. What a lot of people don't know is after the show is over, we spend time talking out here, and in the past you've talked about your brother and some of the struggles he's been going through. So I'm sorry to hear what I know it's been tough on your family.
He and Larry Tomlinson were great contemporaries. Larry is a friend of yours.
He is.
John could play baseball and golf better, but he could never beat me in cornhole.
Well, Coleman, nobody can.
Yeah, they can, but not him. Well, okay. The other thing, I got to congratulate you and Larry and all the other, Mike Jennings, the other UT family here, certainly happy about the big game last Saturday night at Rupp Arena in Kentucky.
Well, that was an awfully good game. If they could play like that every game, I think we'd be all right. But the game before that against South Carolina, they didn't look very good. But Saturday night, they turned it up a notch. And Dalton Connect, he's been scoring a lot of points. And some of the other players recently have been sitting back and kind of letting him do it. In this game, they all showed up. Now, I will say this, Coleman. The Saturday before that, I went down to Vanderbilt to watch him play, and that was a big win too.
It was. It did look good at halftime, didn't it? If you're not a UT fan. 35 to 31 or something like that.
Something like that at halftime, and then the second half, it turned around. But
well, I've got an idea. That coach took them to the woodshed at halftime.
You think he did?
Well, I expect he did. Isn't that the way it goes?
I think you're probably right.
Yeah. Well, let's get to last night's meeting. We have a city council meeting here twice a month, and you come after each city council meeting, tell us what happened, bring us up to date on important things that are happening in the city of Lebanon. And, of course, we've talked about this many times. We appreciate it. You appreciate the chance as well.
Well, last night during council, there were a few things that happened that I think people would like to hear about. The first one is this. There's an intersection in town at West Main and Cass Heights Avenue that frustrates a lot of people. It's a traffic signal where it seems like every direction goes separately, so it takes a while to get through it. And Kristen Rice, our traffic engineer, she sees it right outside of her window. It frustrates her. She gets a lot of calls about it. And even when I was running, people talked about that intersection and how tough it was. So last night we put in front of the city council to start the process of redoing that intersection. Now this is early on. There will not be any construction, anything for a while. This is just for us, gives us permission to reach out to a design team just to provide us what would the work look like, what would the scope be. So this is very preliminary. We have no cost estimates, anything like that. This is really the permission to go out and get those things. But it is an intersection that's heavily traveled, and again, it frustrates a lot of people, and we feel like it's something we need to look at and start this moving down the path. So that started last night. So that's something we'll have more updates as we go along. And also something else too. For a couple of years now, we've been talking about the railroad crossings in town, and been working with TDOT and the railroad about working on those for safety purposes, but also to make them smoother as people cross over them. And now we're finally at the stage where we can start the construction process. So that's something people will be seeing coming up soon. Again, it's going to take a while to get them finished, but the railroad crossings at Babb Drive, where Co-op is, Hartman Drive, North Cowsites Avenue, Hidden Acres, and Greenwood. So those are the ones we're talking about. Now, a lot of people ask too about silent crossings. Tick Bryan, he asked about that a lot. In fact, he mentioned it last night. One of the things I must say about this is these improvements do not include silent crossings. However, it does set them up to be silent crossings in the future. So that equipment will not go in during this process, but it does prepare them to make that happen as time goes on. So that's something we hear a lot about, especially how rough some of the railroad crossings are. So this is important. This is going to take in a lot of those. So this will affect a lot of people as they drive through town.
How is this going to come about? Is this the railroad doing this? Is the city?
So it's a team effort between TDOT, the railroad, and us. Technically, the railroad is in charge of that. It's their tracks, and so when anything is smoothed out, it's really them. It's not our responsibility. It's theirs. But we work in conjunction with that. So this is where it's TDOT funding, and the construction process will really be a team effort between us and the railroad to make that happen, because it's their track.
Time for us to take a break. Lebanon Mayor Rick Bell is here. We'll talk more in a moment on Coleman and Company FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Bates Ford, and they've got that regular oil change, $39.95 up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal. 1780 Franklin Road. Now with traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. There is a couple of accidents out here. Here's what we see. Heavy traffic through the Hermitage area now on 40 westbound. As you make your way past Central Pike, behind it, traffic's being pushed in from Wilson County, Mount Juliet towards Nashville. It's pretty busy down through there. It's also crowded on Vietnam Vets westbound through Hendersonville towards Conference Drive. It continues to load up pretty good with volume on 24 westbound up through the Hickory Hollow area in from Rutherford County. Be careful out there leaving Murfreesboro towards Nashville. 24/7 reliable crane and rigging services right here in Middle Tennessee. It's Tomahawk Crane and Rigging. They're online, tomahawkcrane.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Are you facing a challenging time that you need help navigating? Well, look no further than your local law firm of Kane and Crowell. At the offices of Kane and Crowell, our team of experienced attorneys is here to guide you through every step of the process. With a proven track record of success and a commitment to our clients and our community, look no further than the team at Kane and Crowell to fight for your rights and provide representation you deserve. 615-784-4800.
1.5 seconds left, no timeouts. Here's your season. Negron gives it to Bird. Bird for the win. It's gone! He got it!
College Hoops is back, and so is Cumberland University on the radio. Join me, John Boyce, in the booth for every Mid-South Conference game this regular and postseason for both men's and women's Phoenix basketball. Conference games are every Thursday starting at 5:30 and every Saturday starting at 1 o'clock. Phoenix basketball is right here on 98.9.
Cumberland's a winner.
We continue here. Thanks for joining us. This is a beautiful February day. Sun is shining. Going to get warmer.
It's a lot better than last time I was out here. Last time it was snow and ice and everything else.
Yeah, well, I learned a little bit from Lucas this morning. I guess I knew this in a way, but the fact that we had 6 inches of snow was a whole lot better than 2 or 3 inches of ice.
I guess that's true.
All right, let's get back to the city of Lebanon and maybe last night's meeting.
Well, there's one more thing from last night, and we got approval to apply for a grant through Parks Recreation to do some improvements over at Don Fox Park to the playground and to the splash pad. William Porter, our Parks Recreations Director, and Alex Major, who runs the Jimmy Floyd Center, they went through a program just a few weeks ago where they learned about this grant. So we want to go and try to get some money to help those areas too, because Don Fox Park, it's used by a lot of people and it's great for us, but we feel like these are some upgrades that are needed, and this grant's a good way to get that done. Mm-hmm. So they gave us approval to do that last night, and that's really the important things that happen on council. But there's one more thing I want to talk about too that is more an internal thing. Last week I met with Chief Mike Justice and Jeff Baines, Commissioner of Public Services, and Lee Clark, who oversees our public works. We're coming up on the spring. We just talked about snow, so we're still in winter time, but we have spring coming, and we know spring brings a lot of rain, and that's the season when we have the chance of some flooding around town and some high waters. And so we just got together to go over what we've been doing over the past year, especially in the downtown area. Lee Clark, his team, they've been down cleaning out the creeks. We work constantly to make sure that we're prepared for this time of year. And so we just want to talk about, as this season comes, that we're ready to let people know if something happens or something's going to happen, to make sure that they are aware and are able to get out there and protect their property. So it's just make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward and prepared for what might come next.
Well, those there's no way to predict them. The only thing you can go by, if it starts raining for a good period of time, you check check out the way out 4 Mile Hill Way and kind of know from previous what's happened in the past, kind of a guide to how bad it's going to be maybe. But even that you can't always tell.
Well, and we've done some things since I've been in office. We've put monitors in the creek, so now our guys can look on their iPads and see the water levels in live time, so they can make a quicker determination about what's going to happen. But you're right; these things just pop up sometimes. But we keep up with the National Weather Service. If we see storms coming or weather coming, they have meetings with the Weather Service to get timely updates on what's going to happen. So we have a good indication of what might happen, but yet it still has to happen. And so, it's something, as you said, it could come up at any moment, but I just want everyone to know that we're always prepared, we're always ready, and we're ready to get word to them in case it does happen.
Yeah, I think one time you actually went under the square where the creek flows and so on. Have you been back anymore?
I haven't. That was 3 years ago, and I went down there. I just wanted to see what was down there and kind of how it worked. And since that time, though, I haven't been, but we've had people down there working, cleaning things out, making sure all debris is out of there so that water flows freely, and make sure that water gets to where it needs to be and not stand around.
I think we have done a better job in the last several years of trying to keep the creek channel clean. I mean, from time to time, we'll have debris or whatever that gets there, which impedes the flow of the water.
It does.
But the freer that can flow, the less backup you're going to have. Maybe the less flooding, I think.
Well, that's the idea. The water flows more freely, gets stuff out of the way, and it can get out of there, and go on to where it's supposed to go, and not stay in the downtown area. So it's a all the time effort. Keep it cleaned out, and then when the time of year comes, when the rains comes, make sure people are notified.
One other thing, there's been some talk about, and I don't know what you're doing out there where the sports complex is, but maybe a retention dam or a little something to impede the flow or hold it back for a while. Is that in the works? So
the Corps of Engineers, years ago, they did a study about a detention dam, and frankly, their study showed it would not help. But what we have done at the new sports complex is we have created detention ponds that are larger than what's required, so that we can hold as much water out there as possible. And so, we want to make sure that anything that's built that direction south of town can hold water as long as it can. So we did that with the sports complex. We also did it with the new parking lot there on Gay Street. We put some detention in that area too, because every little thing helps. And anything that we can do as a city to help, we're going to do it. And that's what we did out there.
What's going on with street paving? And I guess nothing's changed. We're going to be paving so many every year. That's kind of the way we do it.
We do, and we have a street paving contract every year, and Jeff Baines, his team, they're in charge of that. And there's a list of streets. There's kind of like a hierarchy that they list, and they go out and check the streets, which ones need to be paved worse than others. We can't get to all of them, but yesterday there was an event that Mayor Hutto hosted, and had himself and me and Mayor Jennings of Watertown and some representatives from Mount Juliet to talk about infrastructure. And one of the things I talked about was paving. And over the past 3 years, we have paved about almost 20 miles of streets here in the city. Now, one thing that people should realize is that Main Street, 231, the bypass, they're all state roads, so they're in charge of paving that. But our roads, we paved almost 20 miles. And, it's a process. It never stops. Every year we pave and just go down the list and, keep rotating around. So, yeah, it's something that happens all the time.
Joey Carmack was on last Thursday, and we got into a little discussion about the Hartsville Pike, which is now 141, which won't be 141 when the other is done that they're working on now. If you can enlighten us, what's going to happen there? I guess what I'm wondering about, as I understand it, it's going to become a Lebanon Street.
That's right.
Which you'll be responsible for. But what's going to happen between now and then, and when's it going to be paved, and who's going to be responsible for that? Do you know?
That's a good question. So as you know, you live out there, so construction is starting on the new road, and that'll be the new highway, which will come out over closer to Rome Pike. And the old part of that highway will become our street. And so what happens between now and when construction is finished, I'm not sure who owns it, to be honest with you, that process. It'll be a transition at some point. But and what's going to happen is the old road will kind of make a curve and turn into the new road to make it like a little intersection. But the TDOT in the design makes sure that people who live out there now always have access to a street. Nobody gets cut off. And so eventually that will be ours. When that transition takes place, I'm not sure if it was when the new road opens or how that works. But yes, from that point on, it'll be ours. We'll be paving it. We'll be doing all those things.
Well, it can't be paved too soon.
Well, I knew that's what you're headed at. So. But I will say this: since TDOT is building a new road, I don't think they're in a hurry to pave it. So I think it's going to be left up to us.
Well, we'll hopefully when the potholes come, somebody will cover them up a little bit.
Well, I'll call Lee Clark when I get off here, and I'll have him go out there and check just in case.
Oh, what else is going on?
Well, this is something that I want to talk about. I know it's been talked about on your show because it's been a while since it happened. But last week, the Lebanon Wilkes County Chamber of Commerce had their annual banquet. This is their 100th year, which is amazing. Melody Mentor, she's the president now, and Sue Venata did it before her, and for a long time. And it's when something's been around for 100 years, it's worth celebrating. And a lot of leaders have been involved in that throughout history. It's just an amazing story. And so in this 100-year process, they're going to have a lot of events this year. But they were in their office digging through some old documents, and they found some old minutes and records and things like that. And Melanie sent me a document that I thought was interesting. I just thought I'd go over this list today. And I don't know what year this was, but it was decades ago. Maybe as I read some of these things, you can help me determine what year it was. But the top is titled Needs of Lebanon. And so I just thought it was interesting what people thought decades ago that Lebanon needed. And so I'll just read a few of these. One of them is more cooperation. I think that's something we always want. More Christian living. Support and pride in our schools. One of the things interesting was they thought we needed a tobacco warehouse.
Oh.
And I don't know that Lebanon ever had one of those.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and towns around us did. They thought we needed a tobacco warehouse. And this is one that a lot of people may find interesting. They felt like that enforcing parking and traffic ordinances should be something that was needed badly. Clean up the town for our schools. Trade at home, basically shop local. That's something we talk about all the time. They talked about that then too.
Mm-hmm.
They felt like we needed more factories, need a refrigeration plant, need a playground and swimming pool, which we have those things now. This is interesting. They felt like Lebanon needed a highway north of Hunters Point. So Highway 231 wasn't built yet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so they want a highway going that direction. So we got that eventually. Substantial library, which we have. This one's interesting. Lebanon needed TVA power.
Huh.
So they needed TVA to hook up.
This must have been in the early 30s.
It had to be. It had to be. This is something they felt like we needed to plant more cedar trees. For our utility department, they felt like that the city needed an extension of the sewage system. Need our own power plant. And this is something I need to talk to Regina Santana about, our utilities director. Cheaper water rates in the summer. And then the last one is they wanted Spring Street opened from the hospital to Maple Street so that trucks would stay off the square.
And that still hadn't happened.
Yeah, it still hadn't happened. So that had to be the 1930s. And, when Melanie sent that to me and I read those, I thought that's really interesting what people felt like Lebanon needed back then, because in my job and the city council's job, that's what we talk about now. What does Lebanon need? And to think about what people thought about, almost 100 years ago.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us today. Our time is come and gone. Mayor, we'll see you in 2 weeks. And join us tomorrow for Coleman and Company. Till then, I wish you a wonderful day.